Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann-Hess, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today I have a new guest, and would you be so kind to tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do?
Definitely. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. So I'm Cigdem Knebel. I'm the founder and author of Simple Words Books. So what we do at Simple Words Books is we provide chapter books that are decodable to striving readers. Parents and educators have a difficult time finding engaging chapter books that are written with a strict scope and sequence that could be matched to a reader's skills. And our books have that scope and sequence where we focus on early reading skills and spelling patterns, where an early reader can pick up a book that looks like their peers are reading and
Mhm.
feel like they're reading a big chapter book, while the words are strictly controlled and they're actually successfully reading rather than guessing.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. And especially for adapting it to the younger readers, because if they see success quickly, it kind
Yes.
of
Mhm.
becomes a domino effect and encourages them to go even further.
Yes, usually around second grade,
Okay.
kids start graduating into chapter books. But those who are a little bit behind and maybe need some encouragement or maybe intervention, which would be about 20% of the population, are dyslexic or have a specific learning difference or disability, depending on who you talk to. We prefer to use the word difference. We
Hmm.
don't see dyslexia or reading struggles as a disability, especially in today's technology. A lot of things are they're able to overcome. But reading is a fundamental skill, regardless of how much technology is there. And to love reading and to love learning, kids do have to have successes, as you said, early on. And it's very hard emotionally to sit in a classroom and during quiet reading or when they hand out the homework for that evening for the reader to or student to read 20 minutes at home, they really want to pick the books, even if they're struggling, like their peers are. If their peers are reading chapter books and they're stuck with babyish chapter books, it's psychologically very demonizing, and it's hard for them to feel successful. And our books that are, focused between like 2,000 to over 10,000 words are, aiming to bridge that gap and make them feel successful.
Oh, that is fantastic. I mean, you're doing such good work there, and it's obviously very, very needed. I love that you're working with kids who may need a little bit more help. And I like that the fact that you're saying, no, it's not a disability. It's just a challenge. I know you used a different word, but the fact that you're thinking about like, hey, they do need a little extra help or assistance, guidance, but I never thought about like if they were needing that extra help, that they were sadly reading a lower level book, and that might become a barrier to them as well. So what you're doing is making it a feel like they're not reading at that lower level. Do I get that right?
Yes, that's true. And
Yeah.
just like in the financial world, there's a compounding effect of reading. The more you
Yeah.
read, the more skilled you become, the more vocabulary you're exposed to. And those students who are stuck with more babyish books have that gap even widened. And of course, the more you love something, the more you want to do it. And if their experience with books and reading is that I can't do this, they do start telling the limiting beliefs stories early on, saying, I'm not a good reader, I don't like books, I don't like school. And it just exponentially grows from there. So our goal is to make sure that they experience these successes early on and hopefully don't have these limiting beliefs ingrained in them.
Wow. So when I met you and we were talking about what you do, I didn't realize it was like you were like all in on something like this. This is like even more impressive
Oh, thank
than
you.
when we were, talking at that event. So impressive. So, do you work like, are you working with school districts, with individuals? How do you roll out, your product?
So it's 2025, and this is our ninth year right now. Initially, the company started as a fun family project because my son, who was, just about 7 at that time, and doing an intervention and learning to read, he couldn't find the books he wanted. He wanted to read big chapter books, but his reading skills were not there yet. So
Okay.
I tried to find the books, and I couldn't. And I said I can write one for my son. And it kind of grew from there. I started sharing it with other people around me who needed it. As I said, about 20% of the population is about dyslexic. And if you look at it, one person out of five around you have someone that they know or are themselves are dyslexic. So I thought this should be not only me. There has to be more people looking for these books. And I was encouraged to, go and publish these books. I couldn't find people around me who really understood what I was trying to accomplish, who were not experiencing what our family experienced. When I talked to the teachers, when I talked to the families, they said, this is what you should be doing. But the publishing world didn't understand. So what I said is, if they can't understand, but I see the need and I know the need, then maybe I can start my own publishing company. This is kind of where everything all started. And as we kind of grew, I started publishing for other people because I can only write so many books, and there are millions of traditional books out there. What we want to do is we want to give opportunities to those who are early part of reading and haven't progressed as fast as their peers, have access to these books as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, I mean, one, kudos to you for finding a problem that didn't have a solution, and you didn't just stop there. You went further and said, okay, well, there's nothing out there that's going to help my child, so I'm going to create it. And then while
Yeah.
you're doing that, you're creating something that so many other kids could use and so many other families can benefit from. I mean, not many people are going to go that extra mile and do all that. So impressive.
So the way I saw this was there were people who created the programs my child benefits from. They put all the information, they wrote the books that educated me, and they took the time to do it. And I was
Yeah.
thinking initially maybe, oh, when I retire, I can publish these books. But I had this epiphany where, retirement looked like decades from where I was. And if I waited, then there would be, maybe 20, 30 years where the kids would not have access to these books, but I had them in my hand. And
Hmm.
it just seemed not right not
Yeah.
to go public with them.
Yeah. Wow, that's impressive. So how like and now you're helping other authors get their products out for other people. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we have simple verse books under two different umbrellas. Simple verse books is the decodable books. So there are other professionals out there, mostly with education background. Emily Gibbons, Jody Reiner, they're quite well known in the industry. They have their own stories, but not everyone is as crazy as I am. And if they have their own other business model, they don't want to learn publishing like I did. They don't want to
Mhm.
start their own publishing company. So I reached out to those, or they found me, and those people that I clicked with, I said, let's bring some stories out. Some people had already they were working on projects. Some of them we had to create jointly. But my goal is really if they're really doing it based on the science of reading, because there are a lot of people who reach out to me and say, I have decodable books and they're unfortunately not decodable to our standards. I would
Oh.
call them more high interest, low vocabulary words. And there's nothing wrong with them, but it's just not the target that our audience is interested in.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so what we do is, I work with the authors. We edit the stories to the level that it needs to come up to in decodability based on our scope and sequence. And I help them with the publishing process, which is a whole other world of its own, as you can imagine.
Oh, yes, it is.
Mhm.
So, if people wanted to find more about you and your business, where would they go to find out more information?
The best place is our website, simplewordsbooks.com. You can learn more about our books. We have very detailed scope and sequence analysis and information about the books. They can read chapter books. If they want to reach me, I read every single message that comes. There's a contact page there. That email comes directly to me. So that's probably the best way to reach. If they want to have our books, they're available on Amazon as well. We, of course, prefer if they come to our website and we give more free workbooks and all with our books that they don't get on Amazon for free. But we're pretty much all around, and we sell globally as well, not just in the US.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's pretty cool. Whoa, good stuff. Oh my goodness. So I'm curious, like, in your working for, I don't know, however many years, but would have been some of the challenges that you have faced as a professional woman?
So I feel like my work as a professional woman has two very different eras. I was in the corporate for about 2 decades, and
Hmm.
then I jumped ship, and now I own my own company. So
Okay.
in the corporate world, the challenges I think were more external. I believed in myself more, my abilities, but it was hard to be a woman in a very male dominated industry, especially as you climb up the corporate ladder, you become, I think, lonelier.
Hmm.
Whereas when I jumped ship and just so you kind of understand how my life kind of progressed professionally, I started the this whole Simple Words journey as a fun family project. Then we became an LLC, but it was a side gig for quite a
Hmm.
few years. It's been
Okay.
about 3 years now that I've been doing this full time. And in between, I still had to struggle with the corporate world and their limitations on me. And then while I was growing the company, a lot of unexpected limitations came and challenges came that were more internal because I'm on my own and I felt like the thing that would keep the company growing would all be me. Um, am I feeling like an imposter because I'm in the education world, but I don't have the education background? I'm an engineer and I've been in the business side of things, never been in a classroom. I mentally, like I grasped what these books needed to be created, but
Hmm.
because I didn't have the education background at that point, I was feeling like maybe I didn't belong there.
Mm.
And of course, as I said, and these are all limiting beliefs I kind of just put out there around me. The fear of failure, fear of success, those are all real things that I
Oh,
think
yeah.
doesn't come as much in a corporate environment when there are so many different experienced people around you in different areas, accounting, finance, logistics, they're all different entities in a big corporation. Whereas
Okay.
there were people that I could depend on and gain their expertise. When I became a solo entrepreneur, it was all me. And I realized that, wow, like there's all these things I can do, but like, what if? So, when I first started, I was obsessed with what the readers would think about me. Would they think that the books are good enough? When I shift my focus into, it doesn't matter. Like there will always be people who don't like what I do or don't get what I do. And I focused on the people who actually are reading the books, those kids who are benefiting from it. And if there's, 20%, 25% of people that actually get their hands on my books, like it, it's at 25% of the people I'm helping. And when my focus changed from internally, what do people think about me, to externally, how I am helping these young readers, a lot of the challenges just started to disappear, and it was
Yeah.
like a new energy that overtook.
Yeah. Good for you. Because that is right. You change the energy with your messaging, with your internal messaging. And, we all have that person in our head beating us down. And you're doing great work. I mean, wow, that's impressive.
Thank you. And one thing I have, I think it was lean in. book
Hmm.
that said
Oh
men
yeah,
always are like, jump in because for the next promotion, they don't have to be ready. Women need to feel that they're ready and they deserve it before they take that step. So when I
absolutely.
was, taking each step, thinking I'm not ready, but I have to take that next step, I think it was intrinsically very unintuitive. I was like, oh my God, I'm not ready. Am I supposed to do this? Should I wait
Hmm.
until I have the experience versus just go for it? And I think
No,
that's why. And
good.
I don't think I initially had that entrepreneurial instinct,
Right.
and it was very, purpose driven for me.
Yeah. Well, that's
Whereas now I
great.
look at the yeah, when I look at the entrepreneurs around me, they're big risk takers. Oh, just do this, just do that. They're like they're taking action without thinking. Whereas I was more calculated. They all have their pros and cons, but I think as an entrepreneur, that was a big challenge for me to say, okay,
Absolutely.
I don't have to be ready 100% to take
Right.
that next step.
Right. Right. And it's progress over perfection. And because you
Yes.
were able to work forward on that and work through it, you've been able to help more people. So there may have
Mhm.
been a whole slew of people that you weren't able to help if you stayed in that mindset.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what gave me the courage to
Good.
take that action. Mhm.
Good. Good for you. Good for you. Well, so tell me about your vision of retirement.
I feel like once I left the corporate world, I kind of stepped into the retirement mode because they said like in retirement you should do things that have three F's. You wake up and you think, oh my God, I'm gonna do this thing and it's gonna be so much fun today. And what you do makes you feel like you're free and brings you freedom. And then when you go to bed, the fulfillment is there. That's the last F, right? Like you feel like this was a good day. I did something good. So it's
Yeah.
like a time when people give back to the world. It's not like, you're not grinding to, get the next promotion or do this, do that. It comes to a point where, the experiences are all there. Everything is in a melting pot. And now it's just time to enjoy it. And and I feel like that's where I am. You know, um, we started, as I said, like, compound effect is huge. Reading, financial world, we were, I think, smart to put a good nest egg where I could say I can depend on, our financial nest egg to see if anything goes wrong for for a year or two, we're okay. It was also nice to say to start a business with a side gig where you know that the risks of leaving the corporate world at a young age where kids are still young and we know that we have to financially support them for many many years to come. It's nice to kind of start thinking about, I think, retirement early on
Hmm.
and then start plan on like what that dream life is like. And I think the
Yeah.
earlier you start, the sooner you can bring it in to
Absolutely.
reality.
Oh, I love it. I love it. There's so many things to unpack there. Can't even like, ooh, where would you start? So many good things. And that is true. Like, a lot of people, quote unquote retire from their corporate jobs, but then go
Mhm,
on and wind up doing something else that is either A, something they've thought about for 10, 20 years, or B,
mhm,
finding some new passion that they never knew was inside them, and
mhm,
it lights up their world and inspires them to keep going, forward, and gives them a mission.
mhm,
There's challenging statistics for people who retire, and don't
mhm,
have a plan for their
mhm.
retirement. And I'm not talking about your financial plan because you need one of those too,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
you need a personal plan for,
Mhm,
what are you going to do every day? Like, if you're going to sit on the rocker every day on the porch, it's not a good plan. You need to have interaction with people. You have to have a purpose. And if you have a
mhm,
purpose and you have interaction with people, you're going to be
mhm,
much more successful in retirement,
mhm,
emotionally, mentally, than people who go into it without a plan. So I
mhm,
love that. And I also love that you ramped up your business as a side
mhm,
gig while you
mhm,
still had the peace of mind paycheck.
mhm,
But you got to a point where you're like, okay, I've done this, both of these for a couple years simultaneously. I
mhm,
can let go and fly on my own now because I
mhm.
know I found the right calling. That's
Yes.
really, really impressive.
Thank you. It was a
Yeah.
lot of long hours, as you can imagine. You have the full-time job, you have the full-time family, and then you have a part-time job. It's a lot
Yeah.
of, waking up at 3:30 a.m. and, work 3 hours, sometimes, 3.5
Yeah.
hours in the morning until, kids are going to school and, I'm off to my laptop to, work on my full-time job.
Yeah.
But it's again, like when that energy comes from within, it was never an alarm clock that woke me up. It was always that desire to just do the next thing that was on my list because it was just going to be better for me, my family, and the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And, some people think, oh, an entrepreneur, it's so fun. You get to make your own hours. You get to work when you want.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can, but you also work crazy times of the day because you need to get the work done and
Mhm.
nobody else is doing it for you. So it's
Mhm.
not all like sunshine and roses. It's hard work
Mhm.
being a business owner. It's, sometimes
Mhm.
not as fun as people think it is.
It is. I think this has the advantages of the freedom. So if I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to work for a month, the way I built my business was a lifestyle business.
Oh,
And that's what
awesome.
I envisioned for a very, very long time. Even before I had the idea of simple words, I always said I need to have, something in my life where I would take my laptop, go to whatever country I want, and be able to work from there and still make the income. I just didn't know
Yeah.
what it would be. And
Yeah.
and I have that freedom where, in a corporate world it's a lot difficult. And I also, manage my own choices. I don't have someone like if I don't want to work on a project because it does not align with my values, I can say no to it because it's just not the best thing for me to spend my time on. Whereas I think on the corporate world, a lot of people control our time and what we do with it and the outcomes that are required. So it
Mm-hmm.
is, I think, for me, it was also emotionally tiring to work towards something where I didn't always feel was aligned with what I wanted to do with my time.
Right, right, right. And I love that it's a lifestyle business that is so freeing.
Mhm.
And that, if you won't take a project on if it doesn't align with your values, and that's going to inspire you to do a good job. So that's very powerful too. So thanks for sharing that. I would say our action item, we're going to have an action item, and there's so many things in our conversation. I'm trying to think of the best one. There is no best one because there's 10 of them I want to say, but I think one of the action items I would say is, for a lot of people, we often think about the financial side of retirement. I think our action item today is kind of similar to what you did. Think about your retirement vision as far as what is your passion and what do you want to do? What do you want your purpose to be in retirement? Because you could be
Mhm.
in retirement 20, 30 years. So you
Mhm.
need to have some kind of purpose. So I think that's our action item today. What do you think about that?
I think that's great. And I will just add one thing to it. After you think about it, take action. Just don't think about it and leave it. Write it down on a piece of paper, put it maybe on your laptop or maybe say, oh, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to reach out to someone who's an expert in that area to
Yeah.
learn more about it.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you being a guest, and I love that we've connected through our GA networking event that I was a guest at. And I'm so glad you came on today to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Oh, good. Thank you. And I want to thank everyone else for listening to us. Again, I'm Regina McCann Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. My website is forgewealth.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Forge Wealth. And LinkedIn is Regina McCann Hess. And I am also going to, kind of give our disclosures here. So if you'll bear with me, I have to make our attorneys happy. But we want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founders video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listeners' personal circumstances. Therefore, it's not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. And of course, securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice is offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated and nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management. And with that, have a great day. Thank you. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founder's video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.